someone told me my best friend would one day announce we were dating, loudly, in front of a crowd with zero warning, I would have laughed in their face. But last night, in the middle of a bustling diner with his ex sitting 2 booths away, that's exactly what he did. And the worst part? He didn't even blink while wrapping an arm around my shoulders like he'd done it 1,000 times before. Ethan Collins has always been the reckless one between us. He's the type of guy who thinks climbing onto the roof of a moving car is a little fun, or that eating 4 jalapenos in a row is a casual Tuesday challenge. I, on the other hand, prefer life where things don't spin out of control. But that balance, his chaos against my calm, is probably why we've survived as best friends for 12 years. So when he leaned in and declared to his ex-girlfriend Ashley, "Yeah, I moved on. This is my boyfriend now," my brain short-circuited. Me, his boyfriend? The guy who still gets nervous eye contact from the barista at Starbucks? The guy who has spent years secretly filing away every unspoken crush I've had in the hidden drawer of my chest? I wanted to laugh, to correct him, to push him away. But his arm was heavy around me, his body warm against mine, and his voice, God, his voice carried such conviction. It was the first time I ever felt like maybe, just maybe, he meant it. Ashley froze. Her perfect smile cracked, and I swear I saw the satisfaction flash in Ethan's eyes like he'd just won the most dangerous game he could play. That's when I knew I was in trouble. The morning after, I thought maybe he'd laugh it off. Maybe he'd shoot me a grin and say, "Man, you should have seen her face." But instead, Ethan doubled down. At breakfast, my mom, who adores him like a second son, nearly spit out her orange juice when Ethan casually told her, "Yeah, me and him are together now. Didn't he tell you?" I choked on my toast. "Ethan," but he only grinned, leaned back in his chair, and added, "What? We're happy, aren't we?" His eyes flickered to mine, challenging me to contradict him. That was Ethan, always performing, always pushing the world's buttons. Except this time, I wasn't sure who the real audience was, Ashley, my mom, or me. Because here's the problem. Once the words were out there, he didn't stop. He acted like a boyfriend. He held open doors. He draped his jacket over my shoulders when the night air bit cold. He touched me, light, casual, constant, as though he'd been waiting for permission all along. And each time, my heart betrayed me. We were walking down Main Street when it hit me just how dangerous this game was. Ethan's hand brushed mine, then lingered, then tangled our fingers together like it was the most natural thing in the world. My chest tightened. "Ethan," I muttered, pulling slightly, but he tightened his grip. "What? People are watching," he teased. "No one's watching." His eyes caught mine then, the streetlights reflecting gold in his dark irises. For a split second, there was no teasing in his gaze, just warmth, just something else. And that terrified me more than any judgmental stare could. The irony is, we live in a small town in Ohio where everyone knows everyone, which meant the fake news traveled faster than wildfire. By the 3rd day, the cashier at the grocery store was already smiling at us, calling Ethan your sweet boyfriend. By the 5th day, my aunt had sent me a Facebook message filled with rainbow emojis. Everywhere we went, people looked at us differently. And strangely, Ethan didn't flinch. He wore the title like armor, like pride, like maybe it wasn't fake for him at all. But for me, it was torture. Because for years, I've kept a secret. I've loved him quietly, hopelessly, telling myself I'd rather have him as my reckless, infuriating best friend than risk losing him altogether. Now, he was giving me everything I'd ever dreamed of, holding me, teasing me, calling me his, and I couldn't tell if it was real. And if it wasn't, if this was just another one of his stunts, a way to score points against Ashley, then I was walking straight into heartbreak with my eyes wide open. It was Friday night when the tension broke. We were at his apartment, sprawled across his battered couch, a movie playing quietly in the background. Ethan was laughing at something ridiculous on the screen when suddenly he turned serious. "You're mad at me," he said.
I'm not mad, elite.
"Bullshit." He muted the TV. His eyes burned into mine, sharp and unflinching. "You've been acting weird all week." I swallowed hard. "Because you keep saying things that aren't true." "Like what?" "Like we're together." My voice cracked, sharper than I intended. "Like this is real." Silence. Heavy. Choking. Ethan leaned forward, his elbows on his knees, his jaw tight. Then, softly, he said, "What if it is?" My breath stopped. "What if it's not a joke to me?" His voice was raw now, stripped of his usual bravado. "What if I've been waiting for a way to tell you, and this was the only excuse I could think of?" The world tilted. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would break through my ribs. I stared at him, wide-eyed, terrified, hopeful. "Ethan." His hand found mine again. Steady this time, no performance. Just him. "Tell me to stop," he whispered. "If you don't feel the same, I'll stop." And there it was. The choice. The thing I'd avoided for 12 years. If I pulled away, we'd go back to being best friends, pretending nothing had ever cracked open between us. But if I didn't, my voice shook, but I managed to breathe the words that had been buried in me for too long. "I don't want you to stop." Ethan's smile then, slow, trembling, disbelieving, was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And when he leaned in, closing the inches between us, his lips brushing mine with a tenderness I'd never imagined from him, I realized this wasn't the end of a joke. It was the beginning of something real. The kiss changed everything, yet it changed nothing at all. When Ethan pulled back, his forehead resting against mine, I felt the edges of my world split open. The silence between us was no longer the kind that suffocated. It was charged, trembling, alive. But then the sound of the TV hummed back into my awareness, and reality slipped in with it. We were still just two boys in a cramped apartment, surrounded by pizza boxes and empty soda cans, pretending we could carve out a universe where only we existed. But the truth is, we didn't live in that kind of universe. And by Monday morning, the weight of the outside world came crashing in. It started with my father. He's the kind of man who built his life on reputation, church on Sundays, little league coach, firm handshakes with every neighbor. He didn't ask questions when people in town whispered, because he believed he already knew the answers. So when word reached him, through gossip, through family, through the damn Facebook posts that seemed to multiply overnight, he didn't sit me down gently. He stormed into my room, his voice sharp as the crack of a whip. "Is it true?" he demanded, his eyes already filled with disgust. My throat dried out. "Dad, don't you lie to me, Michael." He used my full name like a weapon. "You're telling me you've been sneaking around with that boy all this time?" It wasn't the words that shattered me. It was the tone, like I was filth, like Ethan was filth. "No," I croaked. "We weren't, it's new. It just... God damn it," he spat, pacing like a man about to explode. "I didn't raise you for this. What the hell will people say?" I wanted to yell that it wasn't about people, it was about me, about us. But the years of silence, of hiding, of letting fear rule me had carved too deep. So I said nothing. And in that silence, my father filled the air with words that carved into me like knives. Shame, disgrace, wrong. By the time he slammed the door behind him, I was shaking. My hands gripped the sheets like they could anchor me to something steady. But nothing felt steady anymore. I told Ethan that night. He showed up at my house without asking, like he always did, tossing pebbles at my window until I gave in and let him climb up the old oak tree to my room. "Your dad's an asshole," he said simply when I finished, his jaw tight. "Don't," I whispered. "He's still my dad. I don't care if he's the goddamn president." Ethan's voice cracked, raw with anger. "No one talks to you like that. No one." And then his arms were around me, strong, sure, steady in the way I never could be. For a moment, I let myself melt into him, let myself believe he could shield me from everything. But then the doubt crept in again. "Maybe he's right," I said softly. Ethan pulled back, his eyes flashing. "Right about what?" "About us. About this. We don't even know what we're doing, Ethan. One minute we're friends, the next we're pretending, and now..." My voice cracked. "Now I don't know what's real anymore." His gaze softened, and that scared me more than his anger. "It's real to me," he whispered. I wanted so badly to believe him, but my father's words were still ringing in my head. The following week was chaos. Ashley wasn't finished with her games. She started posting cryptic messages online, hinting at fake love stories and boys who don't know who they are. Every glance in the hallway at work felt loaded. Every text from a relative felt like another battle I wasn't ready to fight. And through it all, Ethan stayed beside me. He held my hand when people stared. He kissed my temple when I broke down crying in the car. He laughed too loudly in diners, daring anyone to challenge him. But his courage only made me feel weaker. Because while he could face the world with fire in his eyes, I was drowning in fear. It all came to a breaking point at Sunday dinner. My father barely looked at me. My mother tried, but the fear in her eyes cut just as deep. The clinking of silverware was the loudest sound in the room until my father finally snapped. "You're not bringing him here," he said flatly. I froze. "What? That boy, Ethan. He's not welcome under this roof." The words stole the air from my lungs. "He's my best friend," I said desperately. "No," my father's hand slammed against the table. "He's not your friend. He's the reason you've gone astray. And if you think I'll sit here and watch my son throw his life away for some phase, you're dead wrong." I stood so fast my chair scraped against the floor. My chest burned, my vision blurred. "It's not a phase," I shouted. "I love him." The words tumbled out before I could stop them, raw and naked in the air. My father's face turned to stone. My mother gasped, her fork clattering against the plate. And for the first time in my life, I didn't wait for their approval. I didn't wait for their punishment. I grabbed my coat and stormed out into the night, my heart racing, my body trembling, but my chest finally felt alive. When I reached Ethan's apartment, I didn't knock. I barged in, my eyes wet, my voice shaking. "They know," I said. He looked up from the couch, his expression hardening instantly. "What happened?" "I told them." My throat tightened. "I told them I love you." The silence stretched, heavy but different this time. Ethan stood slowly, crossing the room with measured steps. "Say it again." I swallowed hard, my heart hammering. "I love you." Something broke in his expression then. Something wild and desperate and relieved all at once. He grabbed me, pulling me into a kiss that was nothing like the careful one on the couch days ago. This one was fierce, urgent, almost angry with all the time we'd wasted. When we finally pulled apart, both of us gasping, Ethan's forehead pressed to mine. "They can hate me," he said. "The whole damn town can hate me. But I'll be damned if I let them take you away from me." And in that moment, I believed him. For the first time in my life, I believed that love, real, messy, terrifying love, was worth the fight. I thought saying the words out loud would make things easier. That once the truth left my lips, Once I told Ethan, once I told my parents, everything would finally feel clear. But the truth doesn't make life simple. It makes it complicated, messy, painful. And in a small town like ours, truth spreads faster than wildfire. By Monday morning, it wasn't just my family who knew. It was my coworkers at the hardware store, the waitress at the diner, the pastor's wife who always sat in the second pew on Sundays. Everywhere I went, I could feel it, the sideways glances, the hushed whispers, the shift in how people saw me. It wasn't the same as when Ethan had blurted it out in front of Ashley, all casual and reckless. This time it was deliberate, final, real. And people hated real. The first sign of trouble came at work. I'd been stocking shelves when Mr. Reynolds, the store owner, called me into the back. He wasn't a cruel man, but his words still cut. "Look, son," he began, scratching at his graying beard. "Folks are talking. They don't like what they're hearing." I stiffened. "About me?" He sighed, like the weight of the town's gossip was his burden to carry. "You know how it is here. People come to me, ask if I support that kind of thing. If I keep you on, they say they'll shop somewhere else." The floor tilted beneath me. "So what are you saying?" "I'm saying I can't afford to lose this business. I'm sorry, but maybe it's best if you took some time off. Let things cool down." I wanted to scream that my personal life had nothing to do with my ability to stock a shelf, but the words died in my throat. I just nodded, numb, and walked out with my uniform folded over my arm. When I told Ethan that night, he was furious. "They can't just do that," he shouted, pacing his apartment like a caged lion. "You didn't do anything wrong." "It doesn't matter," I said hollowly. "They don't care what's right or wrong. They care about keeping up appearances. Then screw them." His eyes blazed with fire. "Screw this whole town." I wished I could share his anger, but all I felt was small, defeated. "Ethan," I whispered, "what if this was a mistake?" He stopped pacing. His whole body went rigid. "What did you just say?" My throat tightened. Maybe we shouldn't have done this. Maybe we should have just stayed friends." The silence that followed was unbearable. Ethan's jaw clenched, his chest rising and falling as though he was holding back an explosion. Then, softly, dangerously, he said, "Don't you dare take this back." I swallowed hard, unable to meet his eyes. "This isn't a game to me," he continued, his voice raw. "I'm not pretending anymore. I can't go back to being just your best friend. Not after everything." I finally looked at him, and what I saw broke me. The vulnerability he always hid. The boy who pretended he didn't care about anything but secretly cared too much. "I'm scared," I admitted. "So am I," he said, his voice cracking. "But I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you." The next blow came from Ashley. If there was anyone in town who knew how to weaponize gossip, it was her. Within days, she'd plastered her social media with not-so-subtle jabs. Photos of her and Ethan from happier days, captions about real love, hints that I was just a rebound experiment. People ate it up. One post in particular gutted me. A blurry photo of Ethan and me at the diner, our heads bent close together. She'd written, "Guess some people can't survive without pretending. Sad, really?" The comments were brutal. I shut off my phone, but it didn't matter. The damage was done. That Friday, Ethan dragged me out of the house despite my protests. "You can't hide forever," he insisted, his grip firm on my wrist as he pulled me down Main Street. "Ethan, people are staring," I hissed. "Let them stare." He laced his fingers with mine deliberately, his chin high, his eyes daring anyone to say something. And they did. A group of men outside the bar muttered slurs under their breath. An older woman shook her head disapprovingly. Even kids whispered behind their hands as we passed. Every word was a stone hurled at my chest, but Ethan never let go of my hand. When we finally ducked into the quiet of the park, I collapsed onto a bench, my hands shaking. "I can't do this," I whispered. "Yes, you can," Ethan said firmly, crouching in front of me. His eyes searched mine, fierce and unyielding. "You're stronger than you think." "No, I'm not," I snapped, tears blurring my vision. "I'm not like you, Ethan. I don't have your fire. I can't just tell the whole world to go to hell and not care what happens. I care too much." His face softened. "You think I don't care?" I blinked. "You think this is easy for me? Every word they say, every look they give, it eats at me, too. But I look at you and it's worth it. You're worth it." The air caught in my throat. "And if we're going down," he said, his voice trembling with conviction, "then we're going down together." It was then, in that quiet corner of the park, that Ethan finally told me the truth. About why he was so fearless. About why he pushed boundaries. Why he dared the world to come at him. "When I was 15, he began, his eyes fixed on the ground, "my brother came out. You remember Kyle, right?" I nodded slowly. "He told my parents the truth, and they threw him out. Just like that. Bags on the porch. Door locked. I didn't hear from him for years." Ethan's voice cracked. "I swore I'd never let anyone make me feel that powerless again. That's why I fight. That's why I laugh too loud, break rules, piss people off. Because if I let them win, if I let them scare me, then I lose him all over again." I stared at him, stunned. "And then I met you," he said softly, finally looking at me. "And you became the only thing I couldn't stand to lose." My chest ached, my vision blurred again. But this time with something different. Not fear, not shame, something rawer. "Ethan," my voice shook. "I don't want to lose you either." And in that moment, with the world whispering all around us, it didn't matter who was watching. We kissed again, fierce, desperate, defiant. Because maybe love doesn't make life easier. Maybe it makes it harder. But God, it made it worth it. By the time the final storm hit, we were already exhausted from fighting. Fighting whispers, fighting family, fighting our own doubts. But the world wasn't done testing us yet. It happened at the town fair. The same fair we'd gone to every summer since we were kids, where we'd eaten funnel cakes until our stomachs hurt, where Ethan once won me a stuffed bear by knocking down milk bottles with a baseball pitch. This year was different. We walked through the gates hand in hand, and the air shifted. Heads turned. Conversations hushed. It wasn't playful curiosity anymore. It was resentment. And then someone shouted it. "Faggots!" The word cracked through the crowd like a gunshot. My whole body flinched. My grip on Ethan's hand nearly slipped. But he didn't let go. He turned toward the voice, eyes blazing. "Say it to my face," he snarled. The man who'd said it, a thick-set stranger from out of town, stepped forward, sneering. "You two think you can just flaunt that shit in front of kids? Disgusting." Before I could react, Ethan lunged. His fist connected with the guy's jaw, sending him stumbling back into the cotton candy stand. Gasps erupted from the crowd. Chaos followed, people shouting, pulling Ethan away, calling for security. I stood frozen, trembling, as Ethan roared, "You don't get to talk about him like that. You don't get to." His voice broke when he looked back at me. For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. Because he realized I wasn't proud. I wasn't strong. I was terrified. And when the police lights flashed at the edge of the fairgrounds, I did the one thing I swore I'd never do. I let go of his hand. That night, we didn't speak. Ethan was furious, pacing his apartment, his knuckles bruised and bloody. "Why didn't you stand up for yourself?" he demanded. "Why did you look at me like I was the problem?" "Because you scared me," I shouted back, tears burning my eyes. "You keep fighting everyone, and I can't keep up. I can't live like this, Ethan." His face twisted, as if I'd struck him harder than that stranger ever could. "So what, you'd rather go back to hiding? Pretending we're nothing?" I choked on my sob. "Maybe we should be nothing." The silence after those words was unbearable. Ethan's chest heaved, his jaw clenched, but he didn't say a word. And when he finally grabbed his jacket and stormed out, slamming the door behind him, the sound echoed through me like the end of everything. The days that followed were hollow. I went back to my parents' house, though I barely spoke to them. I wandered town like a ghost, feeling the stares dig into me but no longer having the strength to fight them. I thought about Ethan constantly, his reckless smile, his stubborn fire, the way his hand felt wrapped around mine, and the way I'd let go when it mattered most. I told myself it was for the best, that maybe he was right, maybe I wasn't strong enough for him. But every night, lying awake in the dark, the truth clawed at me. It wasn't that I wasn't strong enough. It was that I hadn't chosen him. The breaking point came when Kyle, Ethan's older brother, showed up at my door. I hadn't seen him in years. His hair was longer now, his eyes tired but kind. He looked at me with a mixture of pity and understanding. "He told me everything," Kyle said softly. "About you, about what happened at the fair, about the fight." My chest tightened. "Is he okay?" "He's hurting," Kyle admitted. "Not because of what people said, not even because of that fight, but because you let go." Tears burned my eyes. "I was scared." Kyle nodded. "So was I when I came out. So was he when he saw our parents throw me out like garbage. But Ethan, he fights because he's terrified of losing people he loves. And you, Michael, you're the one person he can't lose." His words shattered the last of my defenses. I knew then what I had to do. I found Ethan on the hill just outside town, the one where we used to ride bikes as kids. He was sitting alone, staring at the distant glow of the fairground lights. My steps were heavy as I approached, my heart pounding with every one. He didn't look up when I sat beside him. His jaw was tight, his hands shoved deep in his jacket pockets. "I'm sorry," I whispered. Still, he didn't look at me. "I was scared," I continued. "Scared of the stares, the whispers, the fights. Scared of losing everyone else. But the truth is none of that matters. Not if it means losing you." His shoulders tensed. "I love you, Ethan," I said, the words trembling out of me like a confession and a prayer. "I don't want to hide. I don't want to run. I want to choose you, every day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard." Finally, he turned. His eyes were wet, shining in the dim light. "You let go," he said softly. "I know," my voice cracked, "but I'll never let go again. Not if you'll give me another chance." The silence stretched, the weight of the world pressing down on us. And then, slowly, Ethan reached out. His fingers brushed mine, tentative at first, then tighter. He pulled my hand to his chest, where his heart beat wild and unsteady. "You better not," he whispered. And when he kissed me, fierce, desperate, trembling, I knew I wouldn't. The next morning, we stood together on that hill as the sun rose, painting the town in soft gold, the same town that had tried to break us. Maybe they'd never accept us. Maybe life would always be harder for us than for others. But as Ethan's hand tightened around mine, I realized something I should have known all along. We weren't fighting the world to win. We were fighting so we could love each other without apology. And that, I thought, was enough. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.